All right, this is Jonathan, Cheap Trick here again, and we're going to do a little draft review. We did a preview first, now we're going to do a review. Cavant's Crusaders was too busy or lazy to help us out today, so it's just me and the Butcher, Alan from Al's Destroyers, and we're going to go through the first round, give our thoughts on how every team, well, we're going to give our thoughts on the first round's picks, and then we're going to probably declare a draft winner and loser. Sound good to you, Alf?
I'm in. Let's do this thing.
All right. The only complaint I got last time was that it took a little too long, so we're going to try to keep it to about a minute a pick today rather than rambling for 3 or 4 minutes each. So the first pick, right off the bat, Drew's Warriors took Sammy Watkins. If you ask me, it wasn't a need-based pick. I would have thought he would have went with a running back, but you can't argue with talent.
No, and I had him slated with our first mock draft, taking Sammy Watkins with the first pick, so I got to stand by. He took the talent for that one, but he needed the back.
Yeah, talent will always win out. You know, he may find a running back somewhere else, so I can't fault him. I can't give him a negative grade on that one. That's a solid pick.
And needless to say, in our little mock draft, Sammy Watkins didn't go 7.
No. Sammy Watkins kind of fell on us, but Drew's Warriors picked him up, and I think it was the smart choice. Now, our pick for the number 1 pick with Bishop Sankey, he actually fell to number 2 to Mudcats. I like the running back pick. I think Mudcats needed a running back, even though we didn't really predict him to go that way. We thought it might go Manziel. The problem I have is just all the reports I'm hearing is Sankey may not even be the starting running back to start the season.
Yeah, but he's going to be able to sit on him for a while, and I think it was a good pickup. He took the talent-based and a big name recognition, and I think he got a steal at number 2.
Yeah, but what he can't do is he can't pull a Tavon Austin from last year where he releases him 8 weeks into the season because he hadn't seen enough out of him yet. He's going to.
I think he got burnt. I think he got absolutely burnt last year.
Yeah, you've got to at least, if you use, I'm almost saying a first-round pick, but at least a top 4 or 5 pick, you got to sit with them. You got to give them a year or two to figure out if they were worth keeping or not.
Yeah, if you're going to take the top 5, you better sit on for 2 or 3 years before you say, all right, he's trash.
Yeah, I can't see Sankey just being thrown away, injuries aside, but can't pull another Tavon Austin. I still like the pick. I think Mudcats might have a steal. I'm worried about him because he's not starting the season. But the question is, do you really think Mudcats is competing for a championship this year?
No, I don't think so. So he can sit on him for a year.
Yeah, and that division is still winnable. I still like Mudcats to keep improving as long as he doesn't pull the Tavon Austin and drop his players.
Yep, good pick.
Yep. Now, number 3 was a bit of a surprise for us. Bottom to top, and maybe we shouldn't have been so surprised that he took Carlos Hyde because he did have a huge hole at running back, and I think he still kind of has a hole at running back, though Spiller and Hyde will help out.
I'd really like to make fun of this, John. I really would, but I think he knew he wasn't going to be there later.
Oh, no, he certainly wasn't going to be there later. I don't know if he would have been there at 6, though. Because bottom to top did have the 6th pick, too. He might have could have got a quarterback. Of course, he could have got a quarterback at 6. There were some still available. So,
I just think this is really a boom or bust pick for number 3, and in my opinion, it was a bust.
I think I'm going to go the opposite side from you. I think if bottom to top was competing this year, of course this is not going to do anything. But Frank Gore's got to leave at some point. I mean, the guy can't be running when he's 45 years old. So.
Obviously, Cavant's Crusaders figured that out finally.
Yeah, finally. Of course, we'll get to Cavant here pretty soon because he's probably got the best story of the entire draft. But for bottom to top, you kind of don't like it. I do. I'm not sure I would have paid the number 3 pick, but really, what's the difference between a 3?
Going with the running back, the reason I don't like this is I would have took Hill long before. But I don't think it's a terrible pick. I just think it was a really, really a big stretch for a number 3.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. Again, would he have been there later? I think it's 6 for sure. I don't know if
I think he would have been there at 6, but he wanted it, obviously.
Hey, if you want him, get him, because you know what price tags are in our league. Especially if somebody finds out you want a player, the price tag just keeps going up and up.
That's right.
Okay, number 4, and here we go with the Knights of Excalibur. They were pretty busy throughout the draft. He picked Johnny Manziel. Now, I am not a huge Manziel fan. I don't like Manziel as a player, but in terms of a fantasy player, I remember the days of Tim Tebow. I remember Terrell Pryor last year. These were not good quarterbacks that had a lot of points because they could run the ball.
I don't like Manziel. Let me just go on the record. I do not like him. But I think this pickup, he had to look at him and go, he's too talented. I need him too bad. I got to take the chance to get one.
Well, Knights of Excalibur was stuck. He had to get a quarterback. There's no question about that. I mean,
and we'll talk about McCown, whoever he was there, who dropped down. But that's a one-year fix. He had to look at the future.
Yeah, it was really between Manziel, Bortles, and Bridgewater. And ultimately, I'm assuming that Knights of Excalibur picked who he wanted. Which of those three he felt the best about. I would have probably went a different way. But now we're just arguing the ranking on the three. He had to take a quarterback, and if he likes that one the best, Manziel could be a fantasy.
You really got to look at it, too, with Knights. He's in a weak division that he thinks he can compete. He may not win the whole thing, but he thinks he can taste the playoffs again.
He may well. I mean, that division, I still like Drew's Warriors, but Drew's has some weaknesses. Mugheads has some weaknesses. Kavans has a lot of weaknesses right now, so it's winnable.
He's a big name.
Yeah, I can't fault him. And Manziel can sit the bench for him right now as long as he's got Peyton and Flacco. So he's not desperate. I would have thought he would have traded Peyton during the draft. He didn't go that route. And, like you said, he could compete. If you can get to week 15 and 16, I've said it many a time, all you got to do is get to the playoffs. You never know. In a one-game series, Peyton Manning goes and throws 8 touchdowns and breaks his own record. Who's beating that? There's not many people.
Now you're playing for the championship.
Exactly. You've got to win 2 games, basically. If you can get to the playoffs, it's a 2-game season. So, I probably wouldn't have taken Manziel. But then, again, like I said, I'm arguing maybe I like Bridgewater a little better than Manziel.
Right, you're arguing the name. You're arguing who you think was it. I think he really thinks he's starting for the Browns, and again, he can set on him if he doesn't.
Yeah, there's no fault there. The time that I really start questioning people's picks is they take, they need a quarterback and they take a kicker. That's right. The guy that's the question mark I have. But if you and I have a difference of opinion on which guy you rank above it, I don't know. I don't play the game, so I don't know myself. So I got to give him a good grade on this. I think he needed a quarterback.
I think it's an outstanding draft. As we keep talking, we're going to talk even more about it.
Oh, yeah. I'm not done talking about him. I didn't want to give all my spoilers away, so I'm not done with him by any stretch of the imagination.
Right on.
Number 5, replacements came in. He stole my darling Mike Evans.
We knew he was going to go high. I think this was a great pick. He wasn't going to be there 2 picks later for you or 3 picks, whatever it was you took.
No.
I think Evans was a great pick.
I thought replacements might go and get himself a backup quarterback.
He had the potential. He wanted to start. Replacements wants to win.
Yes, no question.
He's not worried about his bench. He wants the starters to win right now. And I think he did what he needed to do there. Fill a gap.
And that's an interesting point because Kavance Crusaders and I were discussing trades on my backup quarterback, and my thought was, if the offer was right, if I lose Aaron Rodgers or Matt Ryan, my season's pretty much over. If I'm turning to Ryan Fitzpatrick or Sean Hill or any of these level guys, my chances, maybe I can make the playoffs, but my chances of being a star team are done once you lose that star quarterback. So what's the point? You can go out and you can get you a little chump backup quarterback if you want, or you can go out and see if you think Mike Evans is going to be a star in the league in the next 10 years, why not get him and keep working around? I mean, I picked up Fitzpatrick out of the waiver wire last year. So
and you just picked another one up out of the waiver wire that I thought was a brilliant move. Sean Hill got picked up out of the waiver. I think he did the smart thing, draft somebody he knows is going to be there 10 years.
And one last thing about replacements, too. This is a good team. Whether he makes the playoffs or not, he's in what I consider the top 6 right now, and there's 6 of us battling for 4 spots.
Right, he's an elite player right now.
He's not getting a number 5 pick again.
No. This is the last time he'll see that high.
This is because him and Killers made a trade last season, a gentleman's agreement, I'm better than you. Okay, let's trade before we know anything's happening. And he got a 5 pick. You got to take a talented player with that because you're not going to see it again.
That's right. And if you didn't know, this wasn't because his team was bad last year. It all was that little pre-game bet.
Yeah,
Well,
that
on this.
I totally love that bet, though. I'm not sure I would like it in every situation because I could see where, if a team's bad and a team's great, there could be some collusion. But this struck me last year as I'm better than you. Well, I think I'm better than you, so let's prove it. And what happened was them down the stretch, they didn't tank. They both were trying to win, even though they were out because, screw you, I'm going to ruin your pick for you.
That's right, and that just built competition, and maybe we're lucky, and it built a little rivalry between somebody other than us brothers.
I hope so. I hope that one worked out because I liked it. I did, and I hope there's a little bad blood between killers and replacements. We're going to move to 6, which was originally slated to be bottom to top, and let me check my notes. I think I got it wrote down here. He traded the 6th pick to Cavants Crusaders for Tom Brady. I'm sorry, bottom to top traded the 6th pick and Michael Floyd to Cavants Crusaders for Tom Brady.
Yes.
This is one of those that I could sit here and say, well, that was stupid of Cavant for trading Tom Brady because we know what happened to Sam Bradford.
Yeah, it is now. It is now. That's hindsight, though.
Yeah. At the time, I still didn't like it because I thought Brady, I like Brady. I still think Brady's pretty good, but I can't fault Cavants Crusaders for trying to make a move. I don't know. This is where I have the problem, though, is he gets Michael Floyd, which I really like Floyd. I think he got a good wide receiver. But then he flipped out of the pick. And Cavants, he traded for the 10th pick and Kimbrel Tompkins, who, if I'm not mistaken, he drafted last year.
Yes, and dropped, and now he traded back for him with the number 1, yes.
Yeah, so he's used 2 first-round picks on Kimbrel Tompkins in a roundabout way. So he'll be up again, so we'll get to Cavants Crusaders in just a little bit. So now you get Knights of Excalibur, who I'm not sure why he moved up, but if the cost to me is Kimbrel Tompkins, I'm moving up every day.
Darn straight. Now, I don't even think he thought about that trade as much as he went, really? Okay, done.
You want Kimbrel Tompkins for 4 picks? Sure, why not? So he moves up and he takes Brandon Cooks, who's lightning in a bottle.
We discussed that in the initial one. I think he got an absolute steal on this. He needed it where he traded out his big wide receiver last year. He had to have the help, and this just fell into his lap like a Christmas gift.
Yeah, this was a really good pick. I can't fault it. I can't think of anybody else I would have taken. What, is he going to load up on quarterbacks again? Is he going to take Toby Gerhart? Just looking down the line, there was nobody. This is an absolute steal. Kimbrel Tompkins for Brandon Cooks, I would do that every day of the week.
And it helped his team, and I just want to talk a little bit later in the draft. I think he went out and got himself, not this year, next year, I think he got him a star running back too, and that's in the second round that we're not going to discuss a whole lot, but I think he pounded out 3 needs in this draft for the future.
Oh yeah, Devontae Freeman looks good. If he can rise up the depth chart in Atlanta, Cody Latimer in Denver, I think Knights of Excalibur had a pretty good draft. I don't know who this Olivier Vernon guy is that he got in the 4th round, but he's highly ranked. I had to look him up because I was like, yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know if in this draft there was, if it was I wasn't paying attention or what, but there were about 4 guys that I said, who the heck is that?
Yeah, me too. There are a couple of them who, and I'm going to admit, I didn't watch as much preseason and definitely didn't watch as much hype as I normally do this year. It's been a busy year.
Well, apparently Knights of Excalibur did because he stole one. I may not have liked Manziel as much, but I absolutely loved this Brandon Cooks pick. I thought this was a fantastic pick.
I think that it fell into his lap, and he probably made, to quote yours, he got the biggest snatch he could get.
Exactly. And YouTube will put that on there, apparently.
Yeah, obviously.
Now we're going to get a little behind-the-scenes talk because, it's rare we can do a why'd you make that trade deal, but we can actually talk about it here with the 7th pick because it was Cheap Trick. I came into the pick, and coming into the draft, I thought I was going to take Toby Gerhart. I didn't like him, but I thought that was who was going to be there. Luckily, I made a trade with Keith, and I think when I made the trade with Keith, I told him, I can trade you 2 wide receivers who will start in Kendall Wright and Larry Fitzgerald for Doug Martin, who will start for me. Basically, I'm giving you 2 starters, you're giving me 1 starter. I think everybody's happy.
Right.
He went for it, and I went for it. It kind of worked out for both of us. But then that changed my draft strategy because now I don't need the running back. I was pretty much stuck with Gerhardt with Rice being injured, or not injured, suspended. When I got to the pick, though, with Martin in my hand, I was kind of battling around with, do I take Gerhardt still? Do I take Bortles? What do I want to take here? Luckily, I'd seen that you were trying to trade up a couple times. So I actually had an offer in mind. I think I asked Rags to Riches because he said he might want to trade, and I gave him a second. But I think I was the one who actually threw out the offer of Matt Schaub and the 7th pick for Maurice Jones-Drew and Justin Hunter. Now
let me tell you, as you keep going, let me put my thought in this.
Sure.
I knew that I put my nuts on the table. I had to make a move with you giving me Schaub to get Carr, but not at this pick.
Sure.
So continue on with your thought process.
Well, as I'm getting there, I'm thinking to myself, Schaub worries me. I'm not sure he's going to play. I've still got Fitzpatrick, so I'm good there. And I tried not to show my hand, but I actually love Justin Hunter. He's the kind of wide receiver that I like because he's a touchdown guy. He may not be the...
It hurt me to give him up. I'm not going to lie to you. It hurt me to give him up, but I wanted my pick here.
Yeah, for me, the 7th pick was going to be Bortles or Kobe Gerhardt. Instead, I got a backup running back in Maurice Jones-Drew, or as I told Vance the other day, I got the 2009 Fantasy All-Pro running back team with Rice, Johnson, and Maurice Jones-Drew.
That's right.
But they're all filling one spot, so whichever one can still run this year will have some luck for me. And I got Justin Hunter, who I just think is going to be a red zone target. So I felt good.
And you should have, because I'm telling you, Hunter hurt. But I knew what I wanted to play here, so.
So now let's look at it from your end, because I felt good coming out of it. What were you thinking when you came into this?
My first thought was, I know I wanted Jeremy Hill. I knew that I wanted him at 12, but I know everybody knows how much I look at running backs. So seeing that, of course, Stanky's gone, and now Hyde's gone, there's only one on the board that's going to go.
Yes.
And it was either get him or he's gone. Because I'm really surprised you're talking Gerhardt instead of Hill. I'm really surprised.
I wanted the starter. I didn't want somebody for next year. I wanted somebody to replace Rice while he was out and possibly replace Chris Johnson this season if Johnson doesn't perform. So I wasn't looking long term.
I don't think it's next year I'm going to be waiting. I don't think it's 3 years. I think this year he takes the Mike Allstott role.
You're looking at the touchdowns.
Yes, I'm looking at he's going to get 12 points a week on average on touchdown vulturing.
Do you think he's
talented too? So as soon as Bernard gets hurt, he's the man. Law firm's gone.
Right.
Knew it was gone. Knew he was leaving. So I wanted this pick. And I knew that you gave me Schaub, which was a 50-50 at the time.
Yes.
My only decision was, can I pull Carr out of this too? Because I'll tell you right now, my original at 10, I was going to go with Hill and try and get Tom Savage out of Houston. I'm glad I didn't.
No.
That was my original plan if I didn't make this trade. This trade just opened it up. And you can see how nervous I was because I accidentally clicked Carr at this pick.
Right.
And I was like, no, I'm going to put it on the table. If I lose Carr, I lose. So that was my thought process. I'm getting a starting quarterback, and in my mind, a 10-year Mike Allstott running back.
Of course, now you didn't pick Jeremy Hill here. This was not your Jeremy Hill pick. At this point, though, then you take Teddy Bridgewater. So you.
Oh shoot! You're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking all about my Jeremy Hill, but Bridgewater to me was a steal at this pick. Bridgewater to me was a diamond that I got for free because you can tell the only thing I was concerned about this year was getting Hill. So Bridgewater to me, even though he's sitting on my bench, was a freebie. I thought it was a fair trade to you. I know you love running or wide receivers, but I also know you know how to play me on that side too. That I don't have the patience for.
Yeah, every now and then I'll throw out a little Justin Hunter. Is he still on your team?
Yeah. I just don't have the patience for him to develop. I've never had a strong wide receiver core. So, yeah, I got talking on the wrong tangent there. I'm sorry. Hill was my favorite pick of the season, so I guess we can just streamline right over that pick when we get to it.
Yeah, Bridgewater was the pick. I like Bridgewater. Of course, it did load you up with quarterbacks, and I think right now you've got 5 on your team. That's not a big problem. Just a quick question, since Cavant's already made his trade. Was he just beating down your door to try to make a trade?
He was, and you know what really pissed me off, and I don't know if I should say that word on this, but here's what got me with Cavant. We worked for 2 days, And the difference, and I tip my hat to him. He made the right call. The difference was trading to me his first round pick, and he got a second round pick out of whoever he ended up trading. He only had to give up a second round pick to whoever he traded with.
Well, he only got Sean Hill.
Right.
He gave up Frank. Of course, I guess he's looking at it. What did he give up if the season doesn't work out? Because he gave up Frank Gore, and I cannot think of the other player that was involved in the trade. He gave up Kelvin Benjamin, who I actually liked.
Right.
But
I didn't need Gore. I don't have the patience for Benjamin with no quarterback at him. So I wanted the pick for him. And
as everybody knows, living with Rebecca, so I've got Snowflake Storm. I kind of, I do get to see what goes on with her too. Seeing the things Kavant was offering, it just didn't make sense. I couldn't ever match up with him because I knew he was working with everybody. He was working with her, he was working with me, and I could just never make the things match up. So I'm glad he got something to make the season at least a little more fun. There's nothing worse than coming in and knowing you're going to lose. But
I'm glad for him, but I just don't understand. He got Sean Hill. He could have had David Cohn.
Yeah, Sean Hill, I'm not sure. At one point, he was talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was talking about Josh McCown. So I guess he pulled the trigger on the first trade he could make. I don't blame him for that. The season was getting closer, but there was some people out there. So back to the draft. Killers at 8 picks up Blake Bortles, who it was a surprise pick to me from Keith. I didn't think he needed a quarterback, but looking at his team, I guess he could use a backup. And Bortles has looked good this offseason.
Yeah, I think he made a great pick next year. He's got 2 very consistent quarterbacks. They're not stellar. They're just good enough to sit there and start. So he rolled the dice. Maybe he gets a superstar.
Well, and Snowflake Storm was trying to trade multiple times to get to that pick because she wanted Bortles. I thought Bortles would be the perfect pick for her. And in some ways, I kind of backed away from Bortles because I thought maybe he would fall. I'm glad I made the trade I did because it helped my team the best way it could. But I know there were some people that were liking Bortles. So I think Keith got a good steal here. The only thing about that is he's going to have to show patience.
That's right.
He either needs to show patience or he needs to get somebody who's just in love with the guy and gets him, gets a good haul out of it.
Just do not drop him to the waiver pool.
No, well, I guess it depends on who has the number 1 pick. I'm out of that race. I think you have it now, so maybe you want him to drop Bortles.
Well, I would love for him to, but the integrity of the league is, come on, man, hold on to it.
Do your best, Keith. Don't drop him into the free agent pool. At least get something out of him. Rags to Riches was there intermittently, so I was kind of happy to see that. We actually had. This was the first time we had every single person show up. We didn't have to pick off of anybody's, here's my list or anything. I know it was a little slower, but it was great being able to say, hey, do you want to make a trade? Are you interested in this? Instead of going, here's his list, here's his pick, we're done. So
I know it was slow, but the draft to me, I tell people all the time, that's why I told the whole family while I was here, this is my second Christmas of the year. Favorite day of the year other than Christmas.
Oh, I look forward to it all year long. And keep in mind, we only do a couple rounds, but our draft didn't take any longer than if you drafted all new players every single season. Those take a couple hours. This is a league where you get to sit there and strategize and talk smack, make a couple jokes, and see what happens. I mean, it's 2 hours, one Saturday, every year.
I thought it was great.
Number 9, Rags to Riches, comes in. And I called this perfectly in our mock draft, Jordan Matthews, the wide receiver out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, and I'm not going to even really comment on this a whole lot other than just, wow. You wanted him, you took him, you called it. I don't know how you pieced that together, but wow.
It was, Matthews is not my cup of tea. He's a slot receiver. He's a receptions guy. He unfortunately plays for Philadelphia, who doesn't throw the ball. They do throw the ball. They have an exciting offense, but they don't throw the ball as much as they run the ball. I'm not sure how many catches are going to be there for the number 3 wide receiver behind McCoy, Macklin, Cooper, Ertz. And Sproles this year. My gut is this may turn out to be one of those picks that Rags to Riches by the end of the year just drops.
I don't like to bash anybody's round 1 because I'm sure he put his research and knew what he was getting. But in this case, him and Hyde, I really thought you could have waited till round 2. But, maybe. I don't like it, John. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but like we say, that if you get the guy you want, I'd rather lose with the guy I want than, be...
I agree. See somebody else take him, and then you sit there and beat yourself on the wall forever. So you wanted him, you got him. My analysis on this, I don't like the pick. I'm glad you got who you want.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that would bring down Regzerich's grade a little bit in my eyes. So we get to 10, and because of the earlier trade, Cavance Crusaders is here. Now, I don't know how much of this was him being honest and how much of this was him being funny, but when the 11th pick went Josh McCown, he actually wrote, "Crap, I forgot he was out there." I don't know if that was true at the time, but I darn sure know it was. I know it's true now.
Yeah.
He went out and he made the pick for Toby Gerhart. He got the guy that I would have got too, but the reasoning I would have got Gerhart, as I've said, is because he would have plugged in instantly as a starter for me. He was a 1 year, maybe 2 year fix for me because of the situation I had where Ray Rice likes to hit women and, Chris Johnson is Chris Johnson. I'm not sure what it does for Cavance Crusaders, especially once he lost Sam Bradford. Again, I can't give him a draft grade based on losing Sam Bradford because he didn't know it at the time. But still, I'm not sure what Toby Gerhart brought to the team. I guess he's thinking that Gerhart is not, a stopgap. That Gerhart is, he's going to be a Michael Turner when he left San Diego.
It doesn't surprise me from this standpoint that Vance wouldn't listen to anything I say related to football. It doesn't surprise me at all. But I do a lot of research for my back. I did not have him on my list, period. Was not on there. I agree with you. 1 year and he's out. He's not that darn good.
The only thing I will say is he had two choices. And clearly, if it's true, he forgot McCown was out there. He may have just been messing with us, but if he doesn't take McCown, I don't know what else is left. There's Jeremy Hill. There were some flyer picks, so at least he did get a starting running back this year. We'll see how it turns out for him. I didn't love the pick. It was a whole lot of trade.
It's just one of those times you really want to stand up and go, I'm re-rolling that.
Would you, let me ask you this. Would you have walked into the draft, and I'm even asking Vance this, of course he won't answer, but would you have traded Tom Brady for Michael Floyd, Toby Gerhart, and Kimbrell Tompkins? Because that's what you ultimately did.
Right.
I would not have.
Yeah.
Now, that's what it comes down to.
Sometimes you get wrapped up in the excitement and you don't see the whole picture. I've done it in years past. Some people might say I did it this year. The bad thing is, guys, if you listen to this, Vance knows his stuff. I just don't know what he was playing this time. If he was bored because he didn't have a number 1 draft pick. We talked about it in the first draft, John, with tinkering. Maybe he tinkered too much.
Yeah. It's very possible. And the thing is, the draft is exciting. It is the one time you get everybody there. And there's some people in the league who don't respond to trades, or that you can't get a hold of them. Maybe you don't have as good a relationship with them, so you get them on there on draft day, and you start throwing out I'll make an offer. You want to trade this pick? Sure, I'll get interested.
Just everybody's willing to do it that one day. You're like, holy crap! Everybody's willing to trade. What can I get new on my team? Let me tinker with it. Vance knows how to play our league. And I don't think he did anything to intentionally hurt his team. I just think with the accident and other things that have happened, I don't think he succeeded this draft. I think he tried to tinker too much.
Well, and the way it all broke down, of course, I got Sam Bradford out of the waiver wire, so I can't complain too much, but I'm not...
I don't understand either. I really don't. I don't understand. I guess he's just so frustrated he gave up on it. Done.
I'll sit him for a year and we'll see what happens. That's
right. He'll be trade fodder for you next year. I know what you did.
Yeah.
I was trying to do the same thing.
The 11th pick, as we start to wind it down, Snowflake Storm takes Josh McCown. This is probably the poorest kept secret in the league. With Chad Henne, especially with Blake Bortles playing so well, Henne gets a little knocked down. The idea that he's going to play all season starts to go away. So what does Snowflake Storm need? She could have used her wide receiver. There weren't any impact guys there. There's a couple flyers later, but I think she wanted Josh McCown because, as she told me, go with the quarterback.
I agree. I think she made the smartest pick, period. She had to prove me wrong. But I do want to say, guys, before you laugh at my pick at the pre-draft, Clowney went 2 picks from now.
Yeah, it wasn't like you didn't get it close. What I can't believe, and again, I'm just not sure that Vance wasn't joking at the time, but I can't believe McCown, a starting quarterback with really no competition. I know he's 35 years old. I know he's got 3 years left in the league. But he's got 3 years with Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, who went number 5. Nobody could use that.
It's crazy, but you know what it sinks to me, Jonathan, is people are learning how to play our dynasty league.
And that gives me a little bit of confidence. If that's the case, that people looked at it and said, "What's McCown going to do for me?" Then I'll back off of anybody who passed on him and said, I think the better move for me is youth. And that's great.
But honestly, for Rebecca, he's a perfect fit right now. Maybe these people are catching on to the dynasty that they're looking 2 to 3 years ahead. And if that's the case, I agree with you. My hats are off to you.
Yeah, as long as...
Just didn't think about it, shame on you.
As long as we're not living on Frank Gore's and Anquan Bolden's and these guys and thinking that this is going to change the league, and people are starting to, maybe I'm not there yet, or maybe I'm close, but let me get the talent ahead and then figure out how to mash in, because you can win. Frank Gore's not a bad player. Frank Gore's a really good player for replacements. A team that's built. But not for, the guy who's at the bottom of the league and was 2-12 last year. They don't need a Frank Gore. So I'm glad to see that it's shaped out like this.
I am too. I think Snowflake, my hat's off, is a great pick. She couldn't let him fall any. The bad thing, Jonathan, I'm going to just speak from my hat. He would have went to the second round if she wouldn't have took him.
Yeah.
I had no interest in it.
But somebody bottom to top or somebody would have grabbed him quick.
Because I really thought, do I want him for trade father? I was like, you know what? Nobody's going to trade with me. So that's kind of how I looked at it. Knowing that he's a 1 year and out, or maybe 2 or 3 years tops, he would have been there for the second round. So good pick, Snowflake. And
then you wrapped it up, and we've talked a lot about Jeremy Hill at the 12 pick. You liked him. I'm still of the... I know you're saying a 12-point per game average, and he looked really good preseason week 4. But to get 12 points, he needs 60 yards and a touchdown a week. He's not scoring 16 touchdowns, so he's going to need some weeks where he gets...
I said average.
Right. But to get there, he's going to need some 100-yard games, which basically what you're saying is you see it as a timeshare. You don't see him as a backup and a vulture. You actually see him as he's going to get 10, 15 carries a game. If that's... Four receptions. I think they're going to split out with Bernard a lot. And my other thing on this one, guys, I have my 3 starting quarterbacks. Sure.
I gave Jones-Drew up for this guy. I wanted him. Jones-Drew, I knew you wanted him. I was okay with this.
Yeah, look, this pick is... There's 2 things. This pick's going to turn out 2 ways. One, you're going to look like a genius because you got the guy at 12. If he turns out to be even, a 10-point a game guy, you're going to look like a genius. He's going to get 160. This is going to be a great pick because he's going to be your backup and he's going to fill you out for bye weeks. Or, conversely, I'm right and he doesn't really turn out to be that great. And you know what? You took him at 12. Who cares?
And I got Bridgewater.
Yeah. That's the thing. People got to understand, too. I grade you harder at 1 than I do at 12. Because at 12, you won the league last year. You've got a roster. You're hoping that a guy pans out. But in all honesty, 11 guys better than him, in theory, went before him. So you're taking a flyer. If your flyer pans out, great. Good for you. You get a brag. But if he doesn't, what did you expect? Yeah. It's like, it's the same thing. We'll get into the second round, and people will say, well, it was my second round pick. I just kind of threw it away. How different is the 13th pick from the 12? It's 1 slot, just because we say it's a first rounder. Once you get into even, say, 9 or 10, it's why, I didn't really love Rags to Riches' pick. Vance is different because he traded into the pick, but Rags to Riches, I didn't care for it, but it was the 9th pick. What was left? At that point, you've got to start thinking, what's here? Which of these do I feel most comfortable with? So I don't mind Jeremy Hill, and like I said, at least you got somebody who you can look at and say, this guy's going to be somebody. I look down the line and I'm looking at like Terrence West, Trey Mason, Kerry Robinson.
That's right.
These guys.
Now, I will say, I did flirt with the one that Excalibur picked up, the running back for Atlanta. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name.
Devontae Freeman.
I did flirt around with him, but I just like Jeremy Hill better.
Well, and the truth is, Hill, I know Hill has some part in this offense. He's the goal line back, if nothing else. Or at least we'll get some goal line carries. Devontae Freeman ain't playing until Steven Jackson is done. And the same with all the others. You're getting backups. So you got a guy who you may be able to put out there. I think the earliest bye weeks this year are week 4. If you've got a guy on bye week 4, Jeremy Hill, you can at least feel confident and go, you know what, he might get a touchdown that week.
That's right. He might pull my 8 to 10 points, which is what I need. And I need to back up. One more thing before we're done talking about the draft. I do have to thank you guys for letting Carr still fall to. I know nobody voted I had the best draft, but I think for the number 12 spot walking out, I feel like I walked out of that smelling pretty darn good for the number 12.
I thought there were some teams that did really well that I didn't vote for. You were one of them. I think Snowflake getting Kenny Britton and Ertz later. I'm trying to look who else that I had that maybe did. You know who I really liked was replacements. He got some quality guys. I didn't like Pitta all that much, but I did like Harrison Smith, the defensive back. And
sure. That's the one I picked up and dropped for league because I meant to hit the watch forward.
So some people did good. So let me ask you, and maybe you just fall in line with the poll, who do you think had the best draft? And if you think it was you, you can say it was you.
Yeah, I'm going to walk out. I'm going to get a lot of booing and hissing, but I am the butcher, so I'm used to making everybody mad. I don't know how you can question 2 starting quarterbacks and a running back that we'll see. It's a coin flop, but I have a feeling he is what my team needed. I think Excalibur had a great draft for what he needed. My team, as a championship team, actually put some quality on the bench.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to sit with. I know I didn't even vote for myself because I think Excalibur did a lot of research. This is the first draft he did by himself, so I am very impressed with him and tickled. But if you ask me on paper, I'm going to write down I had the best draft job. Okay,
fair enough. I thankfully don't have to pick myself because I didn't really draft. I traded my pick, so that had nothing to do with it. Like I said, I think replacements did amazing. I think Snowflake did really well. I think you did really well. But ultimately, I go to Knights of Excalibur. I like Manziel. I like the fact that he got Brandon Cooks for Kimbrel Tompkins. I liked Devontae Freeman. I like Cody Latimer. Yeah, they're not all going to pan out, but you know what? Who cares? You're taking some flyers. You're replacing dead weight, and you're getting some guys. I think he got his quarterback. I'm not sure if it's his quarterback forever in Manziel, but he drafted who he thought was the best quarterback. He got a steal at wide receiver, and that Freeman.
I don't know if everybody knows, but he's definitely our youngest player at 17. He's had his team for a couple of years with help. This was the first year, Jonathan, that he researched his picks. He chose what he wanted. He knew what he wanted.
So does that mean?
But I just have a hard time saying it's the best draft when I look at what I got out of it.
So does that mean that he actually is better at drafting when he doesn't have your help?
You're right. It's kind of embarrassing. I didn't even know who Latimer was when he put him on the board.
Is there anybody you didn't like their draft? And not to rake them over the coals, but is there anybody that stands out as just this was a terrible draft? Because to me, nobody stood out. I have question marks.
I don't have anybody who I'd say was the worst, but now the hindsight 2020, the taste of my mouth, Kavon just got screwed.
Yeah, and
not his fault, but when you look at it going into week 1, you got to look and go, ouch, man, just ouch. Reroll that. It's time to reroll.
Did it change who you think is going to win? Does anything else happen? I mean, did somebody jump up? Did somebody jump down? Did anything odd happen?
No, I think one person really jumped up in my eyes, but I'm going to stick with my original pick. I think replacements is solid material, could make the playoffs. May even bump me out. I look at your team, and I love Rebecca's team. I'm going to stick with that pick because she deserves it, but you're going to be hard to beat. I think it's between the 4 teams I just mentioned there, and I don't know who makes it out of the other division because I know one of them has to take the slot, so all 4 of us can't go. As far as you, Rebecca, me, and replacements, but those are the 4 best teams, if you ask me, walking out of the draft.
And I think so too. I think it's going to be a great argument at the end of the year when one team probably has a better record than the Reavers division winner, and it's sitting there going, well, why did we restructure? But, this happened before with the divisions, and it makes for great races. That wild card, I'm really hoping we're going to have a good, solid race, because Rags to Riches is good. He's not bad.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that this division is going to tighten up every year. So definitely not bashing anybody. I think everybody's getting much more competitive. I just got to go, replacement starts at the bottom too, guys.
Oh, yeah. Replacements did not come in with a loaded team. He's really built well. So I'm like you. I did my preseason predictions, and I had him knocking you out. I could see any one of the four of us being knocked out. I hope it's not me, but in all honesty, I could see it. It depends on injuries and things. There may be a team that sneaks in or surprises us. Of course, you've got the whole other division that's going to be good. But the draft, I didn't see any difference makers in terms of players, and thus, when the teams were decided, I didn't see any difference makers there. I think the good teams stayed good. Unlike in other years, a good team, I don't know that a good team added a star player. Maybe replacements with Mike Evans. I'd have to look at his wide receivers real quick to decide if if Evans will even be a starter or if he's a backup. But it looked like the teams that were at the bottom, they all added the star power, and the teams that were at the top last year, they added some backups. And really, that's almost the perfect system.
That's right. And I want to go on the record, and you can quote me on this 10 years from now when you review this draft. The actual NFL draft class, this was a D class at best.
Yeah, no, it was a terrible class. I think the only person that really got screwed, I thought, was Dallas Primetime, just because she had traded her draft pick last year. She was actually, if I'm recalling right, I think she was 5-2 or 4-3. She was somewhere right around there at the midpoint and really making a push for the playoffs.
Right.
And then she
did what you have to do.
Yeah, she gave up the pick, and had she made the playoffs and won a championship, ultimately she'd be bragging about the championship rather than going, I lost the pick. So you make your gambles. I think she waited till about the perfect time. Yeah, her season fell apart after that, but these things happen.
That's right. She pulled the trigger. I don't think you missed a great draft class. Now, I do think 10 years you're going to be talking some names: Evans, Watkins, maybe Manziel, Bridgewater. But like you said, I think everybody did it. Overall, for us, this was a great draft year. For the NFL, there's not that much input for a dynasty league.
And you can tell this because nobody has traded their draft pick for next season.
That's right.
So everybody's looking at it because there are some big names coming out next year, and everybody's holding on to them, and we'll see what happens. Usually during the draft, if there's some stars there, somebody will start throwing I'm probably the worst about it. I'll trade you my next year's pick for a pick this year. I've always done that. This year, I didn't see it. So nobody wanted picks. I was happy to hold on to my 2015. But I think everybody had a pretty good draft. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Any parting thoughts? I think I'm pretty much done here.
I am too. I just want to give you one thing. This was nice the Butcher's going to be this year. I'll try and do some write-ups throughout the season, but don't look for me to be bragging on you anymore.
Exactly. And what I would like to do is I'm going to keep with the write-ups, but I'd like to check in probably week 7, see if we can't get Cavant to actually answer his phone, and maybe do one, middle of the season, just BS about whatever's going on in the league.
Any of you other guys want to do it? Sign up and let's do it.
Yep. We'll do a conference call. I can put as many of you as want on it, and we'll just sit here and we'll discuss the league. It's open to everybody.
All right. Good luck, everybody.
All right. I think that's going to wrap it up, guys. Good luck this season. Enjoy the recap, and we'll see you all later.